Back in our second week here, and it's been so great to have Jason here and talking. I don't shock easily, Jason, and I do a lot of reading and studying, and of course I've been friends with the chief for a long time, and we have some discussions, but some of the things that you're saying are really eye-opening and a little disturbing, I have to say. But we talked last time about the role of family, the role of a father with his children, a mother with their children,
Sure.
and how that's so important. But let's jump ahead a little bit and talk about what we would consider epidemics. And we hear a lot about the opiate epidemic. We hear a lot about sex trafficking. We hear a lot about these things that are concerning, and yet you feel like there's a thread to all of them. There's something that they all have in common. Would you speak to that for a minute?
Our statistics in Tennessee, over 80% of all crimes are nexuses to drugs. You know, that there's related to drugs, whether it's a simple shoplifting, whether it is...
You said 80%.
It's over 80%.
Oh my goodness, I had no idea.
It's on the Tennessee's website.
Can I rabbit trail for a second? You know, I remember when I was in high school, these ads came out on TV. The guy had an egg in a frying pan, put the egg in the frying pan, and he says, you know, this is your brain, throw in the frying pan, this is your brain on drugs, and the egg's frying. And we thought, okay, people are going to see that and stop doing drugs because, you know, now we know what they do. It's not because of lack of education, is it?
It's a lack of destroying our family values,
Yes.
and having those conversations and talking about things. But it's not just us as law enforcement getting rid of the supply. That's, you know, we've got to do better on that. But it's also the demand, the access and the demand of it. Because the diverted drugs, I mean, heck, you know that. There's a pill for everything now. I mean,
Yes.
Sure.
it's amazing how much of the
it's
morphine
incredible.
we use.
Sure.
So
Yes.
With those, with the opiates, and we know that some have legitimate reasons of how they got to, and I'll just throw out one scenario, a kid playing sports and football for say, and has an injury, and then they're prescribed an opiate for pain and everything, and then they become dependent and addicted on that, and morph from that. Now that same kid is on heroin.
It all started with just that simple injury.
It started from, quote, a legitimate reason, but these are the type things that are out there. Not everybody just set out to, man, I want to go get high. Opiate epidemic, again, has a connection with the sex trade epidemic. One thing that I know about the sex trade epidemic is when these, call them pimps, whatever you want to call them, when found out that they do shoot them up with heroin.
Really?
Because
to control them.
Yeah. Speaking to all of these epidemics and the nexus between them, the question I have for you, Jason, right now is, being an investigator, has social media and the platforms that we have from a social perspective have helped or hindered you as an investigator?
Well, that's a good question.
it definitely hadn't helped us. Law enforcement's always had trouble keeping up with technology due to funding and everything else. But the youth are so in tune with technology that, no offense for me, I didn't grow up in a technology-based field. You know, I didn't grow up with an iPad in my hand.
Sure.
But this social media platform, the way they can communicate with each other, it makes it hard for law enforcement to do some of the technology intercepts that we're able to do. Your child could be at home playing on what you think is an innocent PlayStation game, but yet talking to people all across the United States or the world, for that fact. And we've worked cases that have shown that they're actually buying narcotics and stuff from overseas and having them shipped in just by on the Xbox and the PlayStation.
Really?
So, I mean, and that's something as a parent a lot of people don't even know.
Yeah, you know, when you look back some years ago, dealers were on the corners that had a payphone. We came up with pagers or beepers, And now with small computers in our pocket, how challenging is that for law enforcement?
Because you've been doing this for 20 years.
Yeah.
It's changed a lot over the years, I'm sure.
It has. This town's
Yeah.
even changed in 20 years a lot.
Right.
But it's not just a text message. You've got Periscope, you've got Snapchat, you've got Instagram, you've got, well, I hate to say it, but I'm still in the age group of Facebook, and I know our youthful don't even know what Facebook is half the time. They don't care.
Right.
But it's not just that. There's ways that they're communicating, the way that they're talking. There was an article that I think Channel 2 did. Their teaser for the episode was MM4S, Meet Me for Sex.
Man.
And that was their teaser for the opening. And
Sure.
it's communication. They're disguising their communication. So many kids have fake Instagrams that they won't tell their parents about, that only 10 or so people actually have that information
Right.
about. And that's their closest friends. And they're sharing these sexting photos of themselves and things
Right.
of this nature, thinking that that is somebody that they, you know, and it might be an innocent female who's thinking, you know what, I like this boy, I'd like to meet this boy, I'd like to be with this boy. So now that is out there forever.
Man.
It's not going to go anywhere. It's there.
What do you say about when they're sexting and sending it out, and then they delete? They use things such as Snapchat, and they think it's gone, but we know it's not gone. So can you speak to that to
Just
our
And does that include Snapchat too?
Well, Snapchat, it does.
Okay.
The video's there and it kind of goes, and then it kind of goes into different parts. As the files are kind of always there. It's hard to find them. But there are some smart people in the world that are able to get those. But just because I hit delete on my phone doesn't mean that it's gone. I don't
Wow.
see it anymore. But that don't mean out there it's in the cloud or the internet or your buddy's phone or whatever else. And it's not one of those things that's out of sight, out of mind. And you know, we do background checks for our officers too, and one of the things that they're going across with officers is really hard, because you're now looking at things like in society. I mean, you saw the U.S. Supreme Court and how they were going back into his high school things, and you know,
Yes.
we were young, and you know, sometimes you make bad decisions when you're young, but that doesn't mean that you're forgiven for them. The only person who's going to forgive
Right.
you is the man upstairs. So
That's right.
but they're still there. They're not going away. And I don't know what that's going to do for our country in the long run, because the simple fact of the matter is it's everybody thinks you hit delete, it's gone. It's not. It's we've got technology right now, and it's so easy on our phones. We download phones and we can get all the deleted stuff off of them.
And that's
it's
the
there.
thing I want to bring, especially to parents and our youth, because they go through this social media aspect as though they can just delete it and wipe away and it's all gone. But whatever you put in the cloud, trust me, it's in the cloud.
Or what
There
you
are
send to
ways-
somebody
yeah,
else.
and that's what I'm saying.
They have it.
And it's out there. And then there are regrets and things like that. Again, part of the thing that has to be done, I'm going to speak to our youth right now, is being comfortable in who you are. Because so much is made of trying to be somebody else.
Man.
Our whole society is geared on how many likes you have right
That's
now.
right.
I see that transitioning into every aspect, whether it be the criminal element of going out and breaking in vehicles, burglarizing places, or violent crimes, the drugs. Everything seems to have this same arrow pointing about popularity.
I heard the other day on a radio show that he was talking about how youth try every day to fit in, and that their only goal is to basically be liked. And then the older we get, we all try to be so different. We all try to be, you know what's different? What can set me aside? Instead of trying to do it when you're older, try to do it when you're younger. Be who you are.
Yeah.
Be different
Yes.
now, and stop trying to just do what the norm is or what people tell you to do. Be yourself.
Jason, would you say it's also important to realize that social media is not real life?
Yeah. Yeah, people always think that my persona, I could be what I want to be in
Yeah.
social media or in their Snapchat stories and all this other stuff. And again,
Yeah.
who are we trying to impress?
Well-
Who are we? Why are we not being who we are? We're not being true to
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yes.
Well, before then, we had alcohol, liquid courage. When you had drank, man, and you would say things that you wouldn't say otherwise, and now people use, in that same kind of vein, people use social media the same way, because they can get on here and they'll say things that they wouldn't dare say openly,
Yes.
to your face. But man, we're faced with so many challenges. Being secure in who you are and who God created you is very important. I like what
Yes.
the psalmist says. He says, I know that I'm fearfully and I'm wonderfully made,
Yes.
and my soul knows that full well. And then when we can get people to understand that, look here, God loves you.
Mm.
And I tell, as I heard one pastor say, there's nothing else you can do to make him love you anymore. He loves you as much as he's going to love you.
You bet.
I think it was Max Lucado who
Yeah.
says, hey, if God had a refrigerator, your picture would be on it. If he had a wallet, your picture would be in it.
That's awesome.
And so
I like that.
those are things that we know, and getting people to
That's
understand that, man, because people are trying to, as you say, fit in. They're trying to be loved. They're trying to be accepted. And man, God loves us as much as he's ever going to love us, because he loves us unconditionally. And if we could get that communicated to where people can really feel that, because whether it's gangs, drugs, sex, why these, and it's happening with males, but predominantly with females, that they have to give themselves away to be accepted and to be loved.
That's
The enemy makes sure that you have perpetrators out there that would foster that, and taking these young women and these young girls away, and promising in them, fame and fortune, and you're just a model, and you make it just like any other scams and things that are going on today.
Yes.
It's a scam as well, and so we have to get back to training and loving our young people, and letting them know that there's something better out there for them.
And training in righteousness. The Bible says the enemy, the devil, comes to steal and to kill and to
Destroy.
destroy.
Yes.
But he said, but I've come to fix that. I've come to give them, righteousness, and I've come to fix that dilemma. How important is your faith in what you do?
For a long time, I tried to cover up faith as passion or emotion,
Right.
because it wasn't widely accepted,
Yeah.
as far as our profession.
Well,
but
we always say the separation of church and state, and since you basically work for the state,
the government, yeah.
quote unquote, is that a difficulty these days?
Well, no, because I've got a boss that allows
Yeah.
us to do it, and that helps.
That's
it
huge,
really
isn't
does.
it? Yes.
It opens up conversations that you typically wouldn't have had.
Yes.
You still try to be a little guarded in that realm,
Yeah.
as an officer, but it's important for you to have dialect with anybody, whether if that's one way you can get through to somebody is through the love of Christ, then that's the conversation you should have.
Yes.
But I think our youth nowadays, they don't have that love. They don't have that love with God. They don't have that love with their parents. They don't. They
And
have
no
love
moral
with
compass.
exactly their definition and their interpretation of love. I think is a little different than ours, and we've kind of got to get the true meaning of love and respect back
Yeah.
back in their lives. So yeah, my opinion.
All of us are involved with people around us. The person that lives next door to you, the person that sits in the desk next to you at school, the person that sits next to you at church. There are people who are hurting, there are people that are confused, and people that need hope. And I want to talk about that just for a minute. Folks, we may never be at the place where Jason is, where he's able to really affect people's lives who are to this degree hurting, who are hooked on drugs, or who are, in impossible situations seemingly. But the one thing that all of us share, and Jason, I'm sure you would agree, is that there's hope.
Yes.
And if there's one thing that I think God gives all of us, no matter what we're dealing with, it's hope for that next person as well. Hope for the person that's sitting beside me, hope for the people that I encounter, that person that needs to have some hope from me. I think when we begin to realize that this is our role with each other, a lot of these problems are solvable.
Let me say this, Bob, since you said that, and that's a great point. I want our audience to know that I'm the chief of police in this city. As my brother has told us, we had a conversation, and he said we're two of the most unlikely people to be in the positions that we're in, coming from the background to where I come from. I want to speak to our audience to let you know that it's not where you've come from that makes everything. I mean, I come from the projects of Nashville, grew up in the projects that back then, I mean, the police didn't even want to come in those projects. It's a rough place. Saying that to say this is that I'm not in this position because I deserve it or I'm worthy of it. Man, I made many mistakes in my life and want to just people to know you don't have to stay that way. You're looking at somebody that mouth used to be so vulgar, man, used to drink all the time, but man, I surrendered my life to the Lord, and when I did that, my life changed for the better. And so I want to just say that and put that out on the table, because there are many people that had my vice was alcohol. They're talking about real and relevant issues and drugs, and we're not talking in a way that we're being judgmental. I want you to know that there's hope, just like you just said, and hey, God can do great and awesome things in your life if you allow it.
And to bring this full circle, that's impact.
That's it.
And it's impact that all of us can have. Well, first of all, because we know where hope is connected, to honestly care about people and where they're going, and to help them get their moral compass straight.
At our agency, man, I'm glad to serve men and women who have a heart, not just for an occupation to get paid, but just as Jason here, man, he has a heart for humanity. And I have men and women at our agency that even out on the patrol level that have that same heart to want to see lives change and people impacted in a positive way. So we're blessed.
Awesome. Like I've got one mother and her husband and wife, able to get them free and clean, and still 9 months after I had dinner with them. I had lunch really, and it's great to see, and that means more to me than a pat on the back or a trophy or. That's why we do what we do, and that's because it is our community, and it's changing. I'm looking at this mother, and she's telling me that every time she's injecting, she's thinking about her child that she doesn't even have custody of anymore, and she can't stop because the pain is so intense that she just knows that injection is another year without her child. And when you see that pain in their eyes, they got to they got to believe that you sincerely mean to help. Saying with
this is excellent. So he's cool.
He's cool. It's a blessing, man. Blessing to have you with us, Jason. And
thank you, Jason.
Thank you for everything you do.
By the way. I'm just saying, he may have his own talk show at some point.
Nope.
So don't miss a single issue of The Very Odd Couple. God bless you.
Peace.